check to see if it's actually live.
Let's see.
Okay.
We're live.
We are live.
Yay!
It took a second there. I've just noticed that there is like a minute delay between the chat on YouTube and the chat being pulled into StreamYard. So if people are leaving comments and we don't seem to see them right away, that would probably be why. It's a little bit annoying.
Let's see.
Yes, KJ, we are alive. alive.
We are just having an in-depth discussion about the use of gray in movie and TV fashion.
Yes. So,
Okay, but we were going to actually introduce everybody and do
Okay, so let's do it the right way. Welcome everybody to the November 2019 Stitch and Bitch, where we work on our projects and our crafts while talking about all the bookish and nerdy and geeky things. I'll have everybody introduce themselves and I will start off. I am Rachel. You're here on my channel, Collinati, and I am working on a sock today. I have the other one already finished, so I'm just trying to finish up the second one. I have not been working on my book blanket because I've been very lazy. I will catch up on it before the end of the year, though. So next, Rhea, do you want to introduce yourself and what you're working on?
Yeah, so I am Rhea from the channel The Bookfinch, and I am still working on that Hufflepuff scarf that I have been working on for the past 3 live streams so far. It's still going. Like we're almost at the point where I can wrap it around my neck. So yay. I've been listening to a lot of nonfiction and knitting, so I've been making decent progress.
Cool. Claire?
Yeah, hi, I'm Claire. My channel is Claire Russo, and I am working on this scarf that is just a single thing of blue yarn that I bought in Ireland, and I'm really sorry about the state of this yarn. It's just kind of how it shook out. I'm not very good at keeping my yarn detangled. I'm not working on my book blanket because recently I did a whole like book sorting out things and moved stuff around the apartment. And yeah, I can't find anything at the minute. It's a little bit tragic. I had to root around for like my microphone cable and stuff. So,
oh well. Diana?
All right, hi, I'm Diana. My channel's Bookish Die, which hasn't been updated in a while because of real life shenanigans. And I am currently working on my book scarf. It is taller than I am right now because I made a fatal miscalculation.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna unwrap it because getting it into this knot is a lot, but I'm very far behind on it, so I'm trying to catch up.
It's gonna be
smaller than you, and you're far behind.
Yeah, I'm currently knitting my books from August.
Wait, so how many? What was your like?
My scale was 1 row for 25 pages, and I made a critical error because I vastly misunderestimated how much I would be reading this year.
So have you been reading a lot more than in previous years, or is it just that you didn't check ahead of time? Or
I've been reading more than I have the last few years because like starting in 2016, I was in grad school, and that just kind of ate up so much of my time. So not being in grad school meant that I actually had time to read for fun.
Yay.
It's funny how that happens.
I know.
I mean, my reading is currently very much slower because I'm starting the phase of working on my final thesis because I need to graduate next year. So I am already anticipating a decline in my reading during this process.
Luck be with you.
Yes.
Okay.
I need all the midi-chlorians I can get. Or are we not talking about that? Is that a taboo subject?
No, we're good.
I'm not exactly sure if Bree or Chelsea will be joining us today, but if they do, we will have them come in and introduce themselves. So I think our next order of business is 2 of us here have new kitties, so we need a cat update.
Yay!
Whichever.
Do you want to go first, Rhea?
Well, I can go first because I can't actually show the cat because he's a bit shy. He currently has a base camp in our bedroom, and because we have older cats, he isn't allowed to roam free without supervision. So he's currently in the bedroom, probably tucked away in a blanket, because I've noticed that he likes to burrow inside the blankets and make like little MOSFET-sized and shaped tunnels. And then he just like goes from my blanket to my partner's blanket and burrows under. Like he's an undercat.
That sounds extremely sweet. That sounds super cute. So you said his name is MOSFET. Does that mean something?
Yes. MOSFET is sort of like, it's a component, a sort of radio transistor. My partner named the cat. So, you know.
I mean, it fits though, because one of your other cat's name is Tesla.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, also, I am not buying the idea that you
Sir.
wouldn't have named the cat after a component of a thing yourself.
Yes, but I didn't know what a MOSFET was earlier, and I just thought that it sounded like a cute name. And then I was like, oh, MOSFET, that sounds nice. What does it mean? And then partner told me, and I was like, sure, of course. But I added the Sir, so his like full name is Sir MOSFET, but we just call him MOSFET for short.
That makes sense.
Or just call him Sir.
Yes, that too. But only when he is behaving poorly, like you do with British people.
I mean, I wish it was entirely untrue, but
somewhere there's a British person going, Matt, do you mind? Okay, Di, you can go next.
All right. So my cats are currently hiding, but I have 2 new kitties. They are about little under a year and a half old. They were originally fostered by the wonderful Renee, and their names are Leia for the Gray Girl and Luke for the Void Boy, because I am forever on brand. And they're very sweet. Luke is much more cuddly, and Leia is opinionated and a bit standoffish.
on brand.
Point. Yeah, Leia's currently hiding behind my TV where she thinks I can't see her.
Aww. So they are siblings, right?
I think actually they were from separate litters, because Renee had rescued 2 litters of kittens that were roughly the same age, and so I think Luke and Leia are from different litters, but they were essentially raised together, so they're siblings.
Aww. And there's photos on your Twitter, right? If people want to go and see pictures of them.
And they do have their own Instagram account. It is jedi.junebugs.
Excuse me. Well, I go do some important following.
Yeah, so you can get your Junebug fix, and they're very cute and very cuddly, and I'm very happy to have cats in my apartment again.
Aww.
I will also plug in my Instagram account at Finchkin, because I just today posted some stories of MOSFET. So if you want to see him in action, there's a story. And I will probably be I update a lot of cat pictures. So, because why not? Like, it's my IRL Instagram, but it's mostly books and cat pictures, as one does.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, being very bad at Instagram, I'm only just getting around to following like people that I know on Instagram. I've got like 10 pictures on my Instagram this year. I'm trying to be a little bit better. So more cats will definitely help remind me to go check it.
All right, so that's our cat update. Maybe next time we will actually see some of the kitties. We can look forward to that.
There's a very good chance that Luke will make an appearance at some point, even if it's just me telling him to leave my headphone cable alone.
Yeah. Or he'll come to get your yarn.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's also a chance that Hedda or Tesla or both make an appearance at some point.
Usually we see Tesla.
Yeah, he's the more social one. Like, Hedda is currently like, I got this cat bed and I laid it on top of this like air conditioning box, so it looks like a chaise lounge, and she's been lying there for like 3 days and only intermittently goes to the bathroom and to eat because she just loves to lay there. She looks like the Queen of Sheba when she's there.
Cool. All right. What is everybody currently reading? We'll start with Diana.
Okay. I am currently reading 2 things. So I went back to reading, I'm checking the title real quick. Saul and Gabby Break the Universe. I had kind of taken a break because the book deals with the death of a character, and I had started it right after Carrie passed, so I was just not in the right headspace for it. But I picked it back up. It's still very good. And then I'm also currently reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert.
Good things about that.
I've been really enjoying it. I really like the lead so far. I like the fact that the heroine is someone who's dealing with chronic pain, and that it's like written in a really respectful way. And I really like how the 2 leads meet in their interactions so far. So I'm really enjoying it. And then I think next up for me is finally reading Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhorse. It's one of the lead-ins to episode 9, and I've heard good things about it. And my favorite pilot, Wedge Antilles, shows up. So I'm very excited.
I'm interested to know because I feel like you will end up seeing Rise of Skywalker before me anyway. I will be interested to know if you have to read Resistance Reborn before seeing the movie.
In terms of like
No.
the other right, because like they do a good job. Because I've read the other like Journey to X movie that Disney Publishing and Del Rey have done in the past, and they're good about like not being necessary to have read it, but they add like kind of some interesting flavors.
Yeah.
So like with episode 6, there was this really cool middle grade novel by Greg Rucka called Before the Awakening, which is like 3 short vignettes of what Poe, Finn, and Rey were up to before episode 7, and it just does a good job of like filling in some of the character backstory. So like the stormtrooper who died in the assault on the village and who like put his bloody handprint on Finn's helmet, like that was a soldier that Finn had trained with and was friends with. So that's why it affected him so badly. And same with the stormtrooper who shouted traitor, like he was also part of Finn's unit.
Yeah.
So like add some kind of interesting backstory, but I don't think
necessary or mandatory.
I don't think it's necessary. Like Lucasfilm has a philosophy with these materials that it's more of, we would like to make sure that because the movies are still like the main storytelling method for the franchise, but they want to like have things that will add kind of interesting flavor for people like me who like the books and the comics.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people who will see the book and the amount of people who will see the movie and don't even know that the book exists, like, is probably considerable. Like, they can't possibly gate the movie behind the book. It's just, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It would be a hilarious decision, but I don't think they could do it. I wanted to ask you though, sorry, that first book you mentioned, is that in a Rick Riordan Presents line?
Yeah, I actually have it with me. Funnily enough, it's this one.
Oh, that one. Oh.
Yeah, like it's like I said, I've really been enjoying it so far. It was just kind of it was kind of a wrong book, wrong time moment when I initially picked it up.
Yeah, I've seen that floating around, and I should probably make a request. I will see what you end up having, like your final thoughts, before I end up making a library purchase request.
Yeah, like I said, I've been enjoying it so far. I need to just sit down and finish it.
Mm.
Cool. Claire, what are you currently reading?
Okay, so I actually wanted to mention one thing that I've just finished because we talked about it in last month's Stitchin' Bitch, which is the middle grade witchy Latinx novel that I actually recommended.
Oh, the Love Sugar Magic?
The Love and Sugar Love. Look, beforehand, I just remembered that I had recommended it to me. I'm come back to time. I'm reading It's really, really interesting. I'm not very far into it at all, but I did linguistics at university and I studied English. Like, if anyone doesn't know, I grew up and went to university in France, and so I studied English as a foreign language and as like linguistically, grammatically, I've always been really nerdy about aspects of the English language, and obviously I'm an internet person, so like this is just peak me. And it's basically about like how we used to have, sorry, I'm just banging the microphone. We used to have just formal writing. We have informal speech and formal speech. Obviously, speech is a good example of formal speech, or newscasting or whatever. But we used to have just formal writing whenever linguists study writing from like previous civilizations. It's all very formal. But now with the internet and the democratization of writing, and the fact that linguists are able to go on Twitter and like collate amounts of data that they've never had before, they can just find stuff that's, and it's things that we don't even think about, like how come a lot of people just type in lower caps with no punctuation now, and what does that mean when you actually take the time to punctuate in specific ways?
Oh, I want to read that, because that is something that I've noticed when like talking with my parents, where like they'll use punctuation in a way that like friends my age from the internet don't.
I always punctuate. My punctuation is like Finnish punctuation, but in English. So my like every time someone comments on it, I feel a little foolish, because my punctuation from an English speaker standpoint is completely wrong. And that's why, for example, when I was studying English, my teachers would say that we were not allowed to punctuate our texts because we were going to do it wrong.
Instead of teaching you how to do it correctly.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I do have another book. I don't mean to tangent massively, but Raya, tell me about Finnish punctuation.
So Finnish punctuation is basically like, the standard rule is that after every single conjugation, or I should say, prior every conjugation, you should punctuate. That's like the easiest.
That's interesting.
For example, that's why if I say that, what would be a good example? Like, for example, the English word that, when you use it as a conjugation, I would put a comma before that.
Right, every time you have a different clause with a different verb being used.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And sometimes that's true in English. Sometimes you have to do it. It might look extraneous if you do it every single time. That's so interesting. I'm sure there are, for instance, like German speakers that get tripped up by rules like that, because in German, which I took in high school for like 5 years,
There's very little punctuation in German.
in German you capitalize.
Claire, you're breaking up.
Yeah, we lose you?
I hope not.
Well, I mean, obviously capitalization is, part of that. It's not techniques, but is it? Am I breaking up still, or
No, okay, you're good now.
It's been kind
Am
of
I good now?
intermittent.
Okay.
Like you freeze and the audio stops.
Oh, boo. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no idea what that is. I don't.
The internet knows that you're talking about it.
Well,
Well, most likely, at least Google does.
it's funny because it's true.
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna look up Goodreads. What happens is I try to open Goodreads at the same time as doing this on my laptop. So I'm gonna look at Goodreads on my phone whenever I need that. But anyway, the other thing I've just started is Sisters of the Vast Black by Lena Rather. Lina? I don't know. This is a new Tor.com novella that just came out on October 29th, and it's about it's about an order of space nuns, and they live in this like living, breathing spaceship that's a giant beast, and it's called Our Lady of Impossible Constellations. I'm like 5 pages in, but I like space nuns. I like SFF religions that are well done and different and interesting.
I love that premise.
that's a really interesting premise.
And I also love like a living spaceship. Like, I've not seen it done tons, but like, for instance, in Cameron Hurley's books and stuff like that, like, I don't always get along with everything in Hurley's books, but I love the bio spaceships. And even in like the first couple pages of this, it talks about like, anyway, it's a bit gross in a way that I think really works. I will refrain from quoting from the gross, inner membrane of the spaceship. But
That's good to know, though, because I've heard about that novella and it sounds quite good, but I don't know how grim or gross it is, and I don't always enjoy reading that.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of like a biological living ship. That's really cool.
It reminds me of Farscape. Like every time someone is like a bioship, I'm always like, my mind goes to Farscape. And
I need to finally, because I need to watch that because I think it's finally on Prime, and I've heard like nothing but good things about it.
Yeah.
Like some of it, like in later seasons, some of it gets a bit clunky, but I have so many good memories attached to that series. Like it's kind of up there with like Stargate as the kind of shows that got me into like sci-fi as a teenager. Like I would like watch it. There was this like cable channel in Finland, and they aired like Farscape and Stargate back to back at midnight. So I would always stay up late to watch them. Plus it has Jim Henson puppets, which is like anything is better with puppets.
It is so much better than having clunky old CGI. That's what I noticed in the last season 1.
Yeah, it's like really aged well. Like in terms of like, obviously there's the CGI scenes where they show the spaceships, but even some of those are like against matte paintings. So in terms of like in comparison to say, like for example, Next Generation, in terms of like comparing Farscape to Next Generation, the effects have really held up in comparison.
Yeah, I was watching Farscape season 1 at the same time that I was watching a couple seasons of Babylon 5, and I think they were made around a similar time.
Yeah,
and I noticed
might have been
immediately
earlier.
Babylon 5 just had very dated looking CGI and very simple sets and everything. Farscape was much more visually detailed. So
Babylon 5 was also like made with a shoestring budget, if I recall.
Yeah,
like all of the
Look who's here. It's Leia.
Hi, baby.
Oh my god, she's so cute.
Yes. Oh, she has huge eyes.
I would go into the rebellion for you.
She's very soft too.
She looks like velvety. Like you know those those gray cats in the Shiba ads?
Yeah.
yeah. She does look like that. Tell you what, she does look like a princess.
Yes.
Well, not on my computer, baby girl.
She's like,
lovely.
Me not on your computer. I'll mess you up.
Yeah,
I'm the spirit of Carrie Fisher. I do what I want.
Yep. I'll get you a nice glittery collar in the spirit of our dearly beloved space mom.
Yeah.
So Rhea, what are you currently reading?
Currently, I am reading, like I'm prioritizing Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I am about 75-ish pages in. I started yesterday, and it has already made me cry. Hobb has established dominance, and my heart is wrecked, and it's going to be a sad book. And the other one I am currently reading is Daughters of Henri by Renee K. Amaya. And I'm only about like 20 pages in, but it has like similar vibes to Children of Blood and Bone.
Ooh, I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
No. In terms that it takes place in sort of world where the gods have been like killed, and then there is a resurgence of like godhood. But so far, I think it is done like the writing style is less derivative, if that makes sense.
Not as many cliches and tropes, hopefully.
Yeah, so I'm actually really like interested in how it is gonna pan out, because I was kind of like on the middle of the road about Children of Blood and Bone. Like I thought it did some things well, and other things I thought that it was not so well done, you know. So I'm hoping that this will be good. So far, the main character is like I would describe her as a 90s Disney princess, with like the montage of all the "I want adventure in the great white somewhere."
I want it more than I can bear.
Yes.
For once. Sorry, I love Beauty and the Beast. So I know that song.
I know. Beauty and the Beast is great.
Sorry, I'm just like really focused on this yarn.
What?
Sorry, I'm just really like focused on detangling this yarn.
But I heard that you said that you were detangling Bjorn, and I was like, wait, what?
To be fair, when you said the title of the book, I thought you said you were reading Daughters of Ennui, and I was like, oh, that seems very deep. So
that would be hilarious, not gonna lie. Luke, honey, come here.
All right, I'll talk about what I'm currently reading. I am like a third of the way through Sideshow by Sherry S. Tepper, which is the last book in the Arby series.
This is Luke.
You're about to be upstage.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, Rachel.
This is my sweet little
Nope.
void cat who is demanding attention.
Okay, he looks exactly like MOSFET, except that MOSFET has orange eyes.
Yeah.
For reference purposes.
Halloween.
Well, please don't step on my computer, baby. Please don't accidentally quit Firefox.
Hey, cats and internet. It's a match made in heaven or hell, depending
I don't know. I
on
think
your
they just
stance.
like it because it's warm, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
You're looking at it.
I used to have like a decoy laptop that I would plug in and not do anything so that my cats would go on top of that laptop and allow me to work on my
Genius.
actual work.
Oh, that's so
It
smart.
worked for the most part.
I mean, this is making me feel much better about the degree to which I spoil my cat. Because I haven't quite gone to that.
So yeah, this is Luke. He's a needy boy who I think knocked over a bunch of my yarn.
I mean,
We appreciate a needy boy when he's a cat.
Please don't play with my headphone cord, bud.
but it's there.
I know it. Jeez.
So Rachel, you were reading
Yeah, sorry.
Sherry S. Tepper.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm reading Sideshow, and I'm buddy reading this with Joe. We've been reading all the Arby books together, and yeah, this one is not as good as Raising the Stones, unfortunately. And I've also just started another nonfiction book. This is the book about algae slime.
Who's it by?
Huh?
Who's it by?
Ruth Kassinger. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh.
So.
That looks really cool. Hi, buddy.
Yes. So I've only read the introduction, so I'm not very far into it. I'm not sure how much more nonfiction I will get finished in November, but I'm trying.
It's weird because like I wasn't planning on participating in nonfiction November at all, but I've already finished like almost 4 nonfiction books because earlier this month I was in a huge like slump. So I kept listening to audiobooks, and nonfiction is easier for me to listen to in audio format. So I ended up like listening a bunch.
Yeah.
Don't bite my scarf.
Well, I
Also,
ended up.
Claire, I just saw your comment. Yeah, cats are very much. Have you seen my butt?
Yeah. I also didn't mean to do nonfiction November, but then like I really wanted to read Catch and Kill, the new Ronan Farrow book about the Weinstein investigation, and how like the conspiracy of powerful men trying to like basically kill the story. Catch and Kill. This is so. I mean, I no idea about it, but it's this like old-fashioned term about like basically buying a story with the intention of not like of not running it so that it dies. So
Did you do the audiobook or the print book for that?
I did the audiobook because my library had like a 10 people queue for the book.
So I've heard excerpts of the audiobook where Ronan Farrow does
Listen.
John Lovett's voice.
Okay, no, but he does John Lovett's voice like pretty on point. He does a lot of accents in the book, right? Bless him. He tries. He does a lot of accents in the book, and I think some of them, like, he does an English accent and a French accent, and I'm like, yeah, okay, those are funnily bad. But I have no way of gauging how good or bad some of the other accents that he does are. He was talking on Love It or Leave It about like how careful they were doing the audiobooks about like getting the people's accents correct. But I did find that there were times where him doing the accents made it more difficult for me to understand what he was saying. However, I'm a second language speaker of English, and so if you're a native speaker, maybe it's not as much of a thing. But I find the accents a bit confusing sometimes.
I find accents when like speaking of accents, have you seen like Orphan Black?
Yes.
Or
No.
know what it's about?
I mean, I'm aware of it, yeah,
but the whole point is that there's a lot of these like clones, and they're like raised in like different parts of the world, so they have like for example, there is a Finnish clone. My point is there is a Finnish clone, and bless Tatiana Maslany, she does amazing in all those roles, and like she distinguishes. Even when the clones are playing each other, you can know from certain things that she does that which clone it is and stuff like that. But when I heard the Finnish accent, the way Finnish people speak English, that was not a Finnish accent. Like it sounded more like someone speaking like say like it sounded more like a Russian accent than a Finnish accent, and I was like,
oh yes, yes. People making that probably don't understand that there are ways in which that is probably quite bad to do.
Yeah. That's like, or if they did like, well, it's so weird because like Finland has a lot more history with Sweden, so you would like think that there's more beef between Sweden and Finland, but then again we had the wars with Russia, so like it's a thing. But let's like, but yeah, it was so cringy to listen to because I was like constantly pulled away from the character.
Yeah. I mean, that is certainly something that I found with the Ronan Farrow audiobook. Like when he was doing, particularly at some point, he does like one French actress. And, obviously it's a book about his investigation of the Harvey Weinstein sex scandal and cover up. And by sex, I mean rape and assault. And, so it's quite heavy stuff, right? And so he's doing this French accent, talking about this actor and this actress and what happened to her at the Cannes Film Festival and whatever. And it's just like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be making me find it funny.
Yeah, is there a chance that that sort of thing kind of cheapens the story?
I mean, I think it's maybe a bit too minor for that. And I think also it's something that is very specific to a person listening who has a deep, intimate knowledge of that accent. I think most people wouldn't find that necessarily. A lot of the other accents that he does, like he does a Russian accent and whatever, like I didn't find that as distracting. And also like, I think the material is like good enough and serious enough, and like it's like a 600-page book, and there were like two particular characters that I was like, this is a bit ridiculous.
Hold on, I need to go make sure Leia is not trying to destroy my blinds.
I'm reminded of that video I saw on Twitter where a cat was closing like the blinds. The man was like cat was opening the blinds and the man was closing them, and then the cat opened the blinds that the man couldn't reach, and I thought that was like the peak cat behavior.
Fair enough.
So
have we done everybody? What's next on the docket?
I wanted to talk about the gray fashion in media.
Yeah, let's do media. Let's talk about fashion. Yes.
or rather costuming, because like before we started this live stream, we were briefly talking about Star Wars and Star Wars costuming.
Yeah.
And talking about how the new ones kind of like when you see the Star Wars prequels, and whatever your opinion about those prequels is, you can't deny that the costuming in those was very intricate, colorful, and eye-catching.
Trisha Berger, she was robbed of her well-deserved Oscars. She never won for the prequels, and I'm still mad about it.
Yeah, the costumes in that, like, mwah, chef's kiss. And I understand that the costumes in the new trilogy are kind of continuing on with the trend that was established by the originals, where the clothing was kind of simplistic, and also constraints were made because of budgeting issues and stuff. But Disney is not lacking budget anymore to make these films, and also you would think that, like, after overthrowing the Empire, spoilers for original Star Wars trilogy, but yeah, after overthrowing the Empire, you would think that people would want some color back into their lives. Like, is it illegal now to have nothing but whites and grays and beiges? And I think that for me, it's like, it speaks of an overarching trend in media in general. For example, I want to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones, and how Game of Thrones pretty much threw away the whole idea of medieval heraldry and is distinguishing families by colors, and like distinguishing armies by color-coded uniforms and stuff like that, in favor of all black, all gray, all leather, whether it made sense or not. And there's like, when I think about costuming, when I was in school for this, all the time our professors would be like, you need to think about the inverse reasoning for costumes, as well as the outverse, like the sort of like outsiders, like viewers verse of the costume. Like, what does the viewer see and what makes sense for the viewer, but also what makes sense for the characters, like who sews these things and stuff. What's the inverse reasoning for this piece of costuming to exist and stuff.
Right. And we come from nerd media. A lot of nerd media, a lot of now beloved nerd media comes from this, tradition of out of universe reasoning for costuming, which is, hey, we want to sell a lot of toys. So,
and Kylo Ren's helmet, the new helmet look, is definitely, we want to sell a new version of Kylo Ren with this helmet.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the case. If you look at the pictures of the new helmet that Kylo Ren has, it's obviously the same black helmet, but it's been broken and then it's been repaired. And the way that it's been repaired is like very obviously visually this particular Japanese porcelain repair technique called kintsugi, which is like very, very beautiful, but also
and
like
makes no sense for the character.
Well,
that's my point.
Like even just like going away from Kylo Ren, like if you look at every time there's a new Star Wars movie, a new stormtrooper gets introduced, like a new type of stormtrooper. Because like, we had the First Order troopers with TFA, we had then the Shore Troopers and the Death Troopers in Rogue One, and the Last Jedi
was pretty much introduced just for that chrome armor.
Yeah, Phasma. You have the First Order Executioners introduced in The Last Jedi. You had the Mud Troopers introduced in Solo, and now you have the Sith Troopers and the Jetpack Troopers introduced in The Rise of Skywalker. And that's not even counting like the cartoons and shit.
Or the prequels with the like original clone troopers that had a different look to the original trilogy troopers, and also like the black pilot troopers that were introduced in, I think, Empire Strikes Back.
No, you see the pilots in New Hope.
Okay, that was in the end, I think.
Yeah, at the very end of the Death Star battle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could say, because there's if I'm not mistaken, in this new movie there's going to be a time jump, so you could definitely say that that the people who are now part of the rebellion and don't have very much, in the way of resources for fancy costumes, like you could definitely make that argument. I'm just not sure it's, there are things that in the Star Wars universe are very, very legible, are very easy to understand on like a kind of instinctual level. Like you look at the costuming in the prequels and it's clearly opulence. You don't have to really have it explained to you, and I think maybe we've lost a little bit of that.
The whole thing for me is that you can tell so much about world building in costuming details. And like the whole show don't tell thing that is really important. Costuming and sets are like a very good way to establish things. Like take for example like cartoons like Avatar: The Last Airbender did like hugely like detailed set shots that showed like, for example, Zuko's obsession with pottery and stuff that weren't established as part of his character as anything other than like background detail and stuff, but they enriched the scene and gave more insight into various different cultures in that series. And for me, and I'm loath to say that, but a costumer or a set designer doesn't really do a good job in their work if it's only there to look good or look cool to the viewer and doesn't have a significance, or if they have to come back in a later interview and explain the significance to the audience, as was the case with the costume designer for Game of Thrones, who gave lots of very interesting and insightful interviews, which made absolutely no sense considering that she could have pulled from the books where Martin gives a lot of detail about the clothing and heraldry and stuff in the book that could be used as inspiration for the design and for the designs of the costumes. One series that does this very well is Outlander. Outlander's costumer went ham with like looking over the source material and pulling stuff from the source material, but also making it more understandable for a modern viewer.
I would also think that has. I'm also assuming there is something there with like the way those different productions run, because like the recent interview with the showrunners from Game of Thrones makes it very, very clear that they were not people working very collaboratively in any way. If you look at something like The Good Place and the way that every department in The Good Place is able to have a lot of creative freedom because the creators of The Good Place hire good people who do good work and entrust them to do that work, whereas the creators of Game of Thrones were very much like, we don't know what we're doing and we want to do every single part of it and take no help from experienced people whatsoever. And that, I think, is really visible in the end product.
The Good Place is also another example where I would say that it's one of those series, it's sort of like low fantasy and not like super high fantasy, but at the same time, it's one of those series that breaks the mold when it comes to like, having all this gray and grim dark. But The Good Place actually uses a lot of color and different kinds of cuts in the clothing to establish certain types of character, and the way the clothes change for each character. I can't explain properly, but it's like definitely like Good Place has some really awesome costuming, even though it looks very simple. If you start looking at the details and the color choices and stuff, there's a lot of like hidden symbolism behind that, and it's amazing.
And there's a lot of visual jokes in The Good Place as well. Like there's a lot of detail that goes into every shot, like to give an example that's the least spoilery that I can give, because The Good Place is a show with a lot of twists and turns. Last week's episode has a shot that's like in a professor's office. They're like discussing one of the characters' thesis, and there are approximately 50 different cups of coffees, like disposable coffee cups, strewn around that office. It's not like no one is pointing at it. It's just a joke about how horrible, like, university, how overworked everybody is in that university. And it's just there for 5 seconds. And they did this thing where they printed all these coffee cups from this like fake coffee shop that exists there with a punny name. And every single thing seems to have like it, you know, I think it's a show where it would be really difficult for them to forget a prop in the middle of the shot, like in later Game of Thrones seasons.
Like in the last 2
you can
seasons,
tell just in the
nobody gave a
last
shit.
season, like so many people just like mentally checked out.
Yeah. Nobody gave a shit anymore.
Which is really sad, but also like from what's been coming out about the production of Game of Thrones, I am
unsurprising.
I am shocked that they put in as much hard work as they did for as long as they did.
Also, on a similar note, like HBO canned, like not that I am thirsty for any Game of Thrones prequels or stuff. Like no.
Yeah.
So apparently the canned prequel was actually like really like the person. It turned out, I've heard that it was actually like really super racist.
Okay. Just to actually give some, because we've like actually skipped over what actually happened, is that after that disastrous Game of Thrones creators interview at Austin Film Festival, the announcement came that one of the Game of Thrones prequel shows that was in development was canned after the pilot was bad. And one was greenlit, which was a different one. And the one that was canned, like, I mean, like Di says, a lot of details have come out on it since that make it sound like it was a bad idea and it was a bad look. And it might not have been great if it had been made, but it turned out it was the one that was led by the showrunner was a woman, and the main actor was a woman as well. And I don't know if that's going to be the case for the other show that they've greenlit. I think the other show is man, but
the other show is going back to the conquest of Aegon. So I assume that Aegon the Conqueror is going to be the main protagonist of the first season. Not that I care.
But also, aren't his sisters involved?
Yeah,
yes,
well,
are involved.
His sister wives are involved. Yes.
Oh, I am not looking forward to the discourse around that show.
Oh, well,
listen.
I need
to tell you this because I need to tell you this because it made any kind of every time I've seen the word discourse since this came into my life, it's made it better. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Listen, a friend of mine on Twitter the other day was talking about the discourse. I think it was the discourse about Baby It's Cold Outside, which, you know, I was sick of that like 2 years ago. But it's come back again because it's Christmas time. And she wrote discourse as the emoji for a CD disc and the emoji for a horse head, like disc horse. And it was so freaking hilarious. Every time I've seen the word discourse since, you know, your heart kind of plummets, like, what's going, I'm so tired, can we not? And then I think of that every time and it makes me feel a little bit better inside.
That reminds me of the time when I watched Great Teacher Onizuka, the anime, and they talk about trauma, and he hears it like torauma, which is the way it is pronounced in Japanese as a long word. And he starts imagining like tigers and horses because Tora means tiger and Uma means horse. And so I always like that's my first mental image when anyone talks about trauma. It's like a tiger and a horse.
That certainly helps.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
it makes it less traumatic.
Anyway, in better news, fucking Benioff and Weiss aren't doing Star Wars anymore because
Hey.
they never should have been hired in the first place. But they're not.
They are focusing on their like $1 billion Netflix.
Oh my
deal,
god! So the
and
whole
I'm
thing.
like, how?
So the fact that they thought like
This is the fact that they thought they could do Netflix and
Lucasfilm, and that
time.
Kathleen Kennedy would be like, "Oh yeah, that's totally cool." Like after she's been pretty like clear in the fact that she will let go of creatives if they don't fit, like if they don't follow Lucasfilm's direction, and two, the fact that they thought that they wouldn't have to, show up on set, like, their job. Yeah, because that was one of the things that came out was Netflix put in their contract, like, yeah, we expect you to, be present and like be on set. And they're just like, what? We can't just like do this remotely?
I have to say that I am of the mind, like, I have to paraphrase my partner who said the perfect way to describe Benioff and Weiss are like two dudes who are constantly failing upwards.
Oh, that is totally them.
That's like their picture is on the dictionary where they explain what failing upwards means.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, I wish I had that kind of confidence.
I wish my daddy had that kind of money.
I know. Anyway, so I'm very glad they're not doing Star Wars. We don't actually know what's coming up next for Star Wars, which is a little... It's fine. We'll find out in January. It'll be fine.
Oh, sorry, Di, have you been watching The Mandalorian?
I have.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yes.
All I know is that all the spoilers I've seen have involved Baby Yoda, and I'm fine with that. I am fine with that being the only spoiler the internet has deigned to give me.
Yodito is like the cutest little baby puppet. Apparently, like they were thinking about doing it CGI, and Werner Herzog was like, "No, you will do the puppet." And they're like, "Oh, okay. We will do the puppet." And in an interview, Deborah Chow, who directed episode 3, was like, yeah, he kind of forgot that it was a puppet and was treating it like a real baby. Which is like adorable. But yeah, I would die
for a 50-year-old baby.
Yeah. I would die for Yodito, and he is definitely great. Pedro Pascal is very good, but I also I'm a little annoyed with the marketing because the marketing was like, oh yeah, you're getting Gina Carano, you're getting, Ming-Na Wen, you're getting Natalia Tena. And then we've gone 3 episodes and there's only been one woman who's spoken the entire time. And she maybe has like 8 to 10 lines top. And there's so many places where a character could have easily been a woman. And like, people are saying, oh, well, it's not a very dialogue heavy show. Like, what did you not everything needs to be woman, but it's like
something that looks like The World and has 50% of women in it.
Yeah. And also like, if you think about the inverse, if it would they would be throwing the biggest of all hissy fits. Hi, Luke. If it was like only one dude who spoke and in a sea of one, and it's like, it's just annoying. And I'm really disappointed because like marketing led us to believe that we would have all these awesome ladies like as a big part of the show. And as of yet, we haven't seen it.
Like they know that we want to see it because they use all these awesome ladies in marketing the way they had it wasn't
Ming-Na
So
Wen.
It was also Ming-Na Wen in a Captain Marvel marketing, wasn't it?
Oh,
wait, who was it? No. I'm thinking of the wrong person. Names are hard.
Are they in some sort of like pisswater planets where no woman would actually want to be?
I mean, people still live there, so it's just
that doesn't really.
Yeah, it's frustrating more than anything else because, like I said, like marketing, like just the way the show was marketed and the way that it's actually, I don't know. I've been enjoying it, but I'm also just very frustrated. And like, God forbid that you point out the lack of women on Twitter, because then you'll get fucking dude bros in your mentions being like, hey, shut up. And it's just like, go away. No one wants to hear from you.
I mean, Lindsay Ellis made a whole episode about Disney and wokeness and how Disney only really pays tribute to issues when it can make them money.
Well,
and that's probably why they heavily market the female characters.
Yeah, sorry. They know. I knew it wasn't Ming-Na Wen. It's Gemma Chan, who was in all the publicity for Captain Marvel, and then she's in for like 3 minutes to get murdered. Spoilers for Captain Marvel, I guess. It's the same thing that happened when, I don't know because I haven't seen The Mandalorian, right? I don't have, we haven't figured out what we're going to buy, if anything, out of all the new, subscription services. So I don't know if we're going to be able to watch it. But, when Rogue One came out and it was like, there's 2.5 women in this resistance movement, and that is not how resistance movements work in the real world. I will direct you to Cameron Hurley's research.
Yeah, and so I love Rogue One, but the fact that Draven could have easily been a woman, the fact that there were so few women in the background shots was really frustrating.
It's we literally have an entire body of research on the gendered labor of the resistance because there were women in the resistance movements across, history everywhere in wars and stuff. Anyway, I will legitimately say that if people are interested in that, they should check out We Have Always Been Here, which is an excellent article by Cameron Hurley that won a Hugo Award in 2014, I want to say. So that's very good. And I have read that several times since it came out. And
there's also an interesting Finnish history fact that I may endow upon you, which is about the Lotta Svärd, which was a paramilitary all-female group of medics, radio workers, and logistical personnel that helped the war effort during the war, and which are no longer allowed to exist in accordance to our peace treaty with Soviet Union or now Russia, which is interesting.
Yeah, there's also, you'll find these in every, because we've always been here, but there was a really interesting, group of, I think it was Soviet women snipers unit. Mm-hmm. And then, after the war, they were invited, around the States for a tour. And, they kept going, and how did you wear makeup in the trenches? And they're over there going, well, I didn't want to kill people, but they were Nazis, so kind of have to. And just the disconnect between the questions. It's like when they interview astronauts and they ask them about lipstick in space. Well, no, please go away.
I'm more concerned with other things than makeup right now. I'm in space.
Oh man.
What else have you guys been watching or listening to that you've been enjoying?
So I've been watching She-Ra and the Princess of Power season 4, and I've been crying a bunch because my feelings. So She-Ra has been and remains very, very good. This season has a strong emotional arc, going on. Not that the other seasons don't, but I think in it's more about strife between the main trio of Bo, Adora, and Glimmer, and that is really hard to stomach for me. And if anyone has seen the end of season 3, the big thing that happens at the end of season 3 obviously affects all of season 4 and is really upsetting and sad. And yeah, we just watched episode, I think 9 out of 13 10 out of 13 last night, so we've got one more and then the 2-part finale, and I want to see them all at once and also make them take forever because it's so good. And yeah, I've also been listening to The Good Place, the podcast, which is which is a podcast that is made by the people making The Good Place. So it's like produced by them. So it's very well produced, very fancy and everything. It's presented by the guy who plays Sean, Mark Evan Jackson, who's also in Brooklyn Nine-Nine and a bunch of other
Kevin
shows. Yes, Kevin. And so
Wait, Kevin?
Well, he's Kevin on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he plays Sean on The Good Place, who is like the head demon. And
here's the judge. The judge-looking guy.
Yeah, well, there's actually a judge on The Good Place who is not him, but he's a very, very good interviewer. And what's really great about that particular podcast is that they have all sorts of people who've worked on The Good Place on the show. It's not, it's writers and actors, but it's also people you don't hear about in a lot of other, if you look at interviews for shows, it'll often be the actors mostly, and then sometimes the writers, but you get like first AD, and then they have to explain what their job is because you, the listener, who don't actually know. And then you get people that are like, where you get set people, prop people, costume people. You get the guy that does the visual effects for the show. Like all these different types of people come in and talk about their job, and they all clearly like really love working on that show because it's a great work environment and because they are given all that like creative freedom to make good choices that work for the show and the story. And it's also great because you get to kind of hear how people come up in the show and how they're given, like how they get to improve, like just because someone is good at their job they don't just stay in that job, they get to improve as well, which I think is really cool. So I would highly recommend that.
That sounds really good. I didn't realize there was a podcast for kind of behind the scenes on that.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, and I also, because it is now November and we're kind of at this point where we're starting to see that around, we're starting to see people around talking about what they're going to nominate for the Hugos next year. If anyone is interested in the Hugo Awards, get your membership to next year's Worldcon before the 31st of December and you'll be able to nominate in the awards. But I am nominating The Good Place, the podcast, in Best Related Work, which I have done in the past couple of years as well. It is not a fan cast because it's not made by fans. It's very much a professional production, but it's, work that's related to an award-winning, a Hugo Award-winning work of SFF, and I very much love it. So, and it's, going to be the last time, so... That could be a downer, but it's still our final season, so we're not going to be able to put it on anymore. So that's my best related work plug for this year.
I have watched a couple of episodes of a new anime called Beastars, which is basically if Zootopia was aimed at adults and also took place in a school and tackled some really interesting societal issues, like in an adult way.
Luke.
So I've been like I watched a couple episodes and it's been pretty interesting so far. It's a similar thing, like you have your herbivores and your predators going to the same school, and there's like hierarchy and class difference and stuff. And it's also like computer, like 3D animated, but it doesn't look 3D animated. The first time I watched it, I thought that it was like a 2D animation, and you can only really tell in certain scenes when the characters move in a way that wouldn't be very fluid in 2D animation, that you can actually see that it's like a 3D model, and it's interesting. So would recommend that. I will write it down in the chat so you...
Yes, please.
I've been meaning to ask you, Rhea, did you watch the whole new Fruits Basket anime? Because I still haven't started it. and I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
Isbeth on Twitter watched it, I think. I can't remember what her handle is because also my cat is now on my phone.
I have watched the most of it. I've not watched all of it yet because I have here's the thing. Crunchyroll in Finland sucks because basically what happens is that because of EU, some of the licensing things that, for example, France buys every single license and then they hog all the licenses, and because of EU, other countries are not allowed to buy the licenses because they should rent them from France or some other shenanigans because France called dibs on the licenses, and that's why a majority of things that you could see in the United States or in the UK are not available for us in the Nordics because...
Yeah, just watch the French dubbed version with some French over it.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. On behalf of France, we're very sorry. They're not sorry, but I'm sorry.
Well, France has coined their own service called Vakani, where you can watch all of the things that they license with subtitles and the Japanese dub. But the thing is,
they're keeping it in Japanese. That's I wouldn't have expected that.
Have Spanish dub and French dub and German dub, I think. But the point is that the episodes come in very slowly. So my experience watching Fruits Basket so far has been a drip effect of waiting for the episodes to come in so that I can watch them legally and without guilt.
I don't know if I'll watch it online. Part of me is if it's ever available on DVD, I'll probably just buy it and watch it all that way.
I have liked it. It's very faithful to the manga. It's basically like scene for scene adaptation, except that they have modernized it a bit. For example, people have cell phones and stuff, and they have modernized kind of the fashion so that it's more appropriate for a modern audience instead of early 2000s, late 90s.
I didn't realize the fashion was dated. Because I just don't know clothing.
well, to be fair, the clothing most of them wear is very
they wear school uniforms most of the time.
Most of the time. Well, Kyo wears a slim-fitting V-neck T-shirt with cargo pants. That's the peak 2000s. That's peak 2000s. That's Kim Possible. It's like a male Kim Possible.
I miss
Kim. Now that I've made you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the male Kim Possible.
Fair.
But yeah, the new Fruits Basket it's decent. It's good. I would recommend it.
Maybe I'll get to binge watch that over the holidays then when I'm off for Christmas.
Yeah, there's I think is there 24 episodes out currently, and it's now on break because they're making the second season, which is also gonna be 24 episodes or something.
Oh, it's gonna be 2 seasons or more?
Yeah,
just one season.
They're doing the whole manga, the entire thing.
Ooh.
So there's going to be a second season.
Interesting. Cool. Well, pretty much the only thing I've been watching recently is I rewatched the first 3 seasons of The Expanse because season 4 is coming out. Well, it starts on December 4th or 3rd, I think. I don't know if any of you guys watch it, but I've
watched the first 2 seasons.
It's on my list of shows to watch.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones available to me.
I really liked season 1. Season 2, I rewatched it and it was boring as heck. I fast forward through anything that Avasarala wasn't in or that Naomi wasn't in. But season 3 was awesome because it's when they get to the ring gate and all that crazy stuff, and I'm really into it.
Is it where is it available now? Because
Amazon.
Amazon
Okay.
Prime. Yeah.
Like some of it was available on Netflix, but I'm not like.
Yeah, I think it got pulled off
Amazon picked it
Netflix.
up.
Yeah, when Amazon picked it up, it got pulled off of Netflix.
Yeah.
So. And that is, I broke down and I got a month-to-month Amazon Prime subscription solely so that I could watch The Expanse. But then I found out that Farscape is on there, and I need to go see if Babylon 5 is as well.
Farscape is available on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the US, yeah.
So is Leverage.
Yeah.
I don't want Disney Plus. I don't want Amazon Prime.
Okay, so here's the thing. I definitely do the millennial thing where the only one I currently like actually pay for is Netflix, and then I have a password sharing agreement with family members, so I get my aunt's Amazon Prime and my dad's Disney Plus and Hulu.
Yeah, I mean, currently I only have like Netflix because like for those of you looking for like legal anime watching options, at least in Europe, Netflix has been very good about licensing anime and showing it on the platform. Not all of them are good, but anyway. But yeah, we currently have like Netflix, and then from time to time we splurge in HBO. And
I paid like 2 months of HBO Go so I could watch
Is Dark Materials?
No, the Ann Lister show.
Oh, Gentleman Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Gentleman Jack, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
We kind of did that because in Finland, at least, there's this, like, you can get a month free when you first subscribe. So we kind of did that so that we could watch Chernobyl and Gentleman Jack. So we took that first month for free, and we had we had plans to cancel it after that first 3 months, and then we forgot. And then we just had like, damn it, now we have to watch everything that's on there just to get our money's worth.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Gentleman Jack actually is still available in the UK, because I thought it was on the BBC, but they only keep it up on BBC iPlayer for like a month or something. So I don't actually know where I could watch it. I wanted to see it; it was on my list, but I didn't get around.
I think it's on because it's a joint production between HBO and BBC.
Yeah.
So HBO pays for like.
Yeah, but you can't get HBO in the UK. You have to buy it through something different, and I'm not buying HBO, so you have to get Sky or whatever. So
yeah. Speaking of HBO, like I wasn't planning on looking into like HBO Max, but then they announced that they're getting all the Studio Ghibli films, and I'm just like, shit.
I've just bought all the Studio Ghibli films on Blu-ray for like $5 a piece whenever they've been on sale. That's what I do.
I mean, that's probably the smart thing to do, but also HBO Max. So like it was a combination of that, and HBO Max is unfortunately also getting the Doctor Who license in the States.
But I'm wondering, like, doesn't Disney own the Studio Ghibli license?
No. So they
do the dubs.
No, yeah, they licensed it for like dubs and home release, but streaming is a different thing because I think
they've never streamed before.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, but now they have their own streaming service, so that's why I was curious about that.
Well, they didn't buy it. In any case, they could have, but they didn't. HBO Max is getting the only streaming license for Studio Ghibli movies, and you cannot buy it in the UK. It's just not available.
That's ridiculous.
Sucks to be me.
Well,
anyway, so
I think Rey's way to do it is the smartest way because, I have no idea when we might be getting it in the UK, and if they're not coming out in the UK, I doubt they're coming out in Europe, in the rest of the European territories. So,
I mean, I also bought like the Blu-ray versions of the seasons of Versailles, the TV show.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that last month.
Yeah, they
Versailles or the Rose of Versailles?
The Rose of Versailles.
Very different. Versailles. Rose of Versailles is very different.
Okay,
right.
I'm confused.
Versailles with my boyfriend who played Gunther in the Les Mis movie.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This is why I know about Versailles. This is literally the only reason.
Like, if you want like historically accurate and like historical accuracy, don't watch Versailles.
Yeah.
If you want like a completely dramatized version where someone looked at the French history Wikipedia page and took all of the scandalous stuff and all of the like things that people would have maybe speculated on in the dirty magazines or something during the time, that's the version of history you're going to get in Versailles.
Yes. And beautiful, beautiful costumes, and I really love Philip. I really only watched the third season of Philip.
I have the first 2 seasons. I think they ended it at 4 or 3 seasons. But anyway, I just like
the third season just hit Netflix here in the US a couple of months ago, so I hurried up and watched it all.
And also, unlike Game of Thrones, they actually put some money on their wigs.
Speaking of wigs, so I am like kind of interested in watching the Witcher series because I started playing the Witcher 3 game, but the wigs look so bad.
I don't know anything about the Witcher guys, but when I saw the first like character snapshot, I was like, that is a terrible wig. Is this
such a bad wig?
That wig has like the wig they put on Geralt looks like it has lived through 9 drag queens and a cosplayer, and then been put on that actor because it's dry and ratty as fuck.
I am gonna have to confess to being like a basic hair witch. I can't tell. Like, I'm sure it's just that I don't know what to look for. But I'm the gullible person who's gonna look at those wigs and be like, whatever. I mean, I'm not watching the Witcher TV show because I've never played the Witcher game, and also I've tried to read one of the Witcher books and I hated it, which is something that is a little bit, a lot of people who like watch my channel and watch my partner's channel that I work for love the Witcher games, and so I hate to like say that, but it's really not the franchise for me because like
I personally like the Witcher games, but I don't.
They're very different from the books, I think.
Yeah,
I think they're supposed to be very different, but
The Witcher, from what I understand, the games take place after the books.
Yeah, and the games are like, they don't take themselves as seriously as the books do. And they're more like campy. And I also like, I love the Polish dub for those games. Like, I only play them in the like Polish dub with English subtitles because it just sounds so. It's great. It's so great. But anyway, Claire, if you want to like have some bad wig spotting tips, the first thing is to look at the hairline. If you can see like a visible ridge in the hairline, that means it has a very stiff and cheap lace front, which means that it's not so easily disguisable. So it has like a thicker mesh than would be like kosher. And also another thing is that it like a bad wig looks like really dry and also shiny at the same time because the fiber is like cheap plastic, so they have to atone for that with basically dry shampoo, which makes the wig look more matte, but it kind of also gives it that like raggedy texture. So those are things to look for. Like,
interesting, thank you.
And also tangles in the tips of the hair.
Hold on, Luke, get down from there.
Yeah, I think that's what I noticed about that bad wig in the first promo pictures for The Witcher is it looked like he had plastic hair, and the hairline was so artificial.
Yeah, it's like.
And I don't know how I'm not better at spotting bad wigs because I have watched a lot of Face Off, right? So like, if you show me badly blended makeup or prosthetics, I'm gonna be like sitting there as if I know what I'm talking about, like when I'm watching MasterChef and I'm like, that sauce has split like that. But wigs, I don't know. I'm just really clearly wig gullible, so I'm gonna have to try out your tips next time. Next time something like that comes up.
I mean, I also interned for like 6 months at the opera, so like I got to actually like put wigs on the actors and also what's the word, to do the aftercare. Because you can't just like take them all out of the package and put them on an actor and say go. You have to like prep, and then afterward you have to like do some shooting.
So Rhea knows what she's talking about with wigs.
Like for those of you who don't know, I have a degree in tailoring and I am a tailor seamstress by my original profession, and I have worked in theater and bridal wear.
Oof.
But we do not talk about those dark times.
Yeah, fair. Super fair.
All right, guys, do we have more media we want to talk about, or do we want to move on to anticipated releases?
I just want to talk about Leverage real quick because I've been rewatching season 1 and it's still a great show and I love it a lot, and it is currently streaming on Amazon Prime, so please watch it because I would love a revival.
If you want to watch Leverage on Amazon Prime,
it's out of order.
Please go to Wikipedia, check the order of episodes as mandated by the showrunners.
Yeah, because
it's all out of order, and it's not just like season 1 aired out of order on TV, and so it's in the TV order on Amazon, which is wrong, and you should watch the DVD order. Yeah. But there are more like stuff that's in the wrong order on Amazon Prime for sure. So yeah, but it's great.
Wait, we have talked about this show before.
Yes, we have talked about this show before.
Because I'm on a quest to make sure everyone watches it because it's a great show and it's very cathartic in this time of terrible business people.
I did want to say that I watched
this. This is a show about Parker, and you will love her.
Oh, Parker's great.
I did want to mention that I watched the first episode of Luther. I have never in my life seen Luther, but I know that Idris Elba was in it. So it is in Netflix, and I watched the first episode, and I don't think I'm going to watch the second one because that show has not aged well. That man, in the first episode, he goes to confront his wife, who tells him that she's leaving him, and he breaks down a door, like with his bare fists. And I was like,
creepy.
That's not a healthy way to accept this news. And I understand that you are upset, but I kind of understand now why your wife is wanting to leave you. Like, if that is the way you react to negative news, like. So I watched the first episode with partner, and we were both like, I don't think this is how a police officer is supposed to act.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, and like hearing you say that kind of makes me not want to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, Idris Elba is like amazing in everything, but even he can salvage that.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat. Someone said that the Witcher wig looks like it was recycled from Rhaegar Targaryen.
I mean, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
The Rhaegar wig was recycled from Viserys, I think. And the Viserys wig was recycled from somewhere because, let's face it, Game of Thrones wigs, like, no.
Yeah, anyway. But yeah, Leverage is great. Please watch it. I really, really would like them to have a revival where we see how the team's doing. I miss them.
That'd be great. Family.
Oh, by the way, Rachel, I saw your tweet about season 3 of Crown. Did you watch The Crown?
I did. I watched the entire thing in 2 days.
Me too.
And I practically sobbed during Abervan.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd never heard of Abervan before. Yeah. I had no idea what it was, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that it's good. I've heard that it's good, but also I'm British, so we don't actually. Well, I mean, many people like the monarchy, but this may be not the week for it in the UK. Eh?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, to be fair, now that they've cast our beloved national treasure as the Queen,
Coleman.
Yeah, no, now that they've cast Olivia Colman, we are much more likely to watch it as a household, me and John.
There's like, I have a weird thing where I'm not at all interested in royalty and like any sort of monarchy, but I still watch The Crown, and then I spend like a week on a Wikipedia rabbit hole looking up all of the historical events and all of the people involved.
Oh yeah.
But the people involved, half of them were actual Nazis, so...
Yes,
yeah.
And the show makes it very clear. I mean,
that's good.
I don't think that the show necessarily gives a very positive portrayal of half of these people. Like it may be like...
Yeah, this is the thing I noticed about season 3. Season 3, with the switch to Olivia Colman. Number one, I mean, I like Colman. I think she's a brilliant actress.
Yeah,
but I feel like her portrayal of the Queen has some like uncertainty in it. I don't know. They're just...
Yeah, but I think that was also true for Claire Foy in her first season.
Yes, but she was younger. And I thought that Colman would bring a little bit more gravitas and
I think as she went on, like in the last episodes, like for example, all her like confrontations with Prince Charles, I think were really excellent.
Yeah,
and you could also see that sort of
the scene where she rips Dickie a new one. I was like, yes.
Oh, the moment when Charles Dance appeared on the screen, I was like, okay.
Oh, I celebrated.
I'm ready. Like Charles Dance is like he's also a national treasure in my opinion. Like whenever he appears in anything, I'm like.
The second thing I noticed about the third season is that I feel like it paints a less sympathetic portrayal of the Queen and Prince Philip, especially in terms of their parenting skills.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing in Abervan, where basically the Queen comes across as not caring very much, and her whole thing about how like faking tears and things, and I was like, number one, I don't feel like this is exactly true, but they're going real hard into it, like portraying her in that way, and I don't.
But I also I find it interesting because like when you're making fiction about real people and real historical events, it's always interesting to sort of examine the biases of the creators involved. And because I think the creators of the show also made the movie The Queen, starring Helen Mirren,
which I love. I love that movie so much.
Yeah. But it also has that same kind of portrayal of her as a sort of a kind of cold and aloof and not really understanding humanity in a sense. Like she's an alien from outer space.
Well, in a way,
I wouldn't pass the
core of the royal family, like especially in season 3, you've got the Queen, you've got Prince Philip, you have the Queen Mother. They are really aliens. They are living this very antiquated, regimented lifestyle that is really out of touch with the normal person. So yeah, they are kind of aliens.
My favorite scene was when Prince Philip went on TV to talk about how impoverished the royal family is, and everybody lost their shit and was like,
is that based on like a real interview? Like, did he really say those things?
Yes.
I mean probably, yeah. Did you not hear the interview that Prince Andrew did this week?
Yeah, I was just gonna talk
just
about
the way that you talk about things. You know, I mean, like, yeah, it's.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
and I'm the first person to read like a Royal AU fanfic. You know, I really love Red, White, and Royal Blue. I just have a little bit more difficulty engaging with like these people are in charge right now, and like,
but I also
it's not just them, right? It's just that also right now we are in a general election campaign, and I hate everything about the news. It's not like I mean, we'll probably watch it at some point, right? Because it has Olivia Colman in it now, so we kind of, it's kind of the rules. But yeah,
and the actors who play Prince Charles and Princess Anne, I love them, especially
one of them, Helena Bonham Carter.
She plays Princess Margaret.
Yeah, Princess Margaret. But the whole scene where you're first introduced to Princess Anne and she's talking to Prince Philip, and like her whole conversation is I
also love they draw really strong parallels between Princess Anne and Prince Philip, like their relationship and how they are very similar as people. Like the way the actress who plays Princess Anne like takes some cues of like Tobias Menzies' facial expressions and stuff and uses them in her own performance.
Wait, who does Tobias Menzies play?
Prince Philip!
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
I can't help it. I love Tobias Menzies as an actor.
Oh no, I love him as an actor, but he has never ever in his life played somebody who's not a scumbag. Like he's scummy in Game of Thrones, he's scummy in Emma, he's scummy in Outlander.
He's like super scummy in Outlander. He's double scummy. He's scum Inception.
Extra rapey in Outlander.
And so, he's scum Inception in Outlander.
Yeah, no, that is because he's in 2 timelines. He's awful in 2 timelines in Outlander.
Yeah, but Prince Philip is also not a super likable person either. So
yeah, Prince Philip did.
We're sensing a trend of Tobias Menzies being typecast as a certain type.
He's very, very good at it.
I mean, if you're good at it, yeah, go for it. I mean, it's like with Benedict Cumberbatch. He's made a career out of basically playing himself, I guess.
I don't know. I think it's a bit different. But I mean, like, look, he's a very good actor, is Benedict Cumberbatch. He was just in every single thing for a little while, where it made it really difficult to like actually see him as a character as opposed to himself. But
yeah, that's definitely true.
Listen, I think we've ragged a lot on Game of Thrones this episode, and I just want to say that one thing that truly felt cleansing in my life was the one line, "Uncle, sit." That was beautiful. That was so good.
I'm just glad that Sansa got a good ending because she deserved it, and I love Sansa Stark a lot.
I also think that Sansa is going to get a good ending in the books, if we ever get an ending to the book. But I also I'm also at the point where I'm not a person who would like go out of their way to defend an author because they are people, but
Luke,
I've always kind of, in a way, had that sort of protective feeling about Martin when it comes to his entitled fans. But after the whole Hugo Losers party and the whole thing involving that, I have to say that there's a little patina in my cup of appreciation.
I think Martin is in that level of like, his life is so weird compared to everybody else. Like, I mean, and it goes without saying that I think he's handled the Hugo Loses Party thing terribly and insulted a bunch of my friends, and I'm mad at it. I'm not ready to make nice. But I think he is definitely at this point, like, not royal family level, but like, it must be super weird being him, and I'm not surprised that he's completely out of touch with like people in reality.
Well, he's like, first of all, he's like two or three generations removed from like us. And
yeah, and I mean, obviously,
second of all, even though he's always been like progressive in terms of like his thinking from when he was like young and stuff, but at the same time, I feel like it must be like you're right. It must be weird. It must also be weird coming into like huge amounts of money suddenly,
right?
And like,
and I have to say that especially, you know, this all happened about the same time, so I was not particularly well, you know, I didn't have the best like mindset towards him when we came into it, but like listening, like seeing that interview from Benioff and Weiss and what they've done to his intellectual property, like did make me feel actively bad for him, which I was very, very not primed to do. Because again, like some of the people that he was trashing over this Hugo thing are some of the nicest, kindest, hardest working people I know. And so I was mad. But like, yeah. And he's also come up in fandom at a very different time to us, you know, like.
It always blows my mind when I realize that George R.R. Martin was a contemporary of Roger Zelazny.
True.
And I mean, of course, Zelazny died in 1996, but a lot of people look back on Zelazny's stuff and think, oh, classic, really old sci-fi author. I'm like, I think they were nominated for Best New Writer in the same year.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, it's just that Zelazny died. He died very young, unfortunately. So
I'm
very
slowly reading through the Amber Chronicles very, very slowly.
I'm a little bit sorry if you're not liking them.
No, that's the whole thing. I really liked the first one. I started reading the second one when we were in Ireland, and I was also liking the second one. It's just that I put it down and I haven't picked it back up.
Yeah.
It's like an accidental DNF. I didn't mean to do it, but there was something else and my ADHD brain just grabbed it. It's like someone shingling keys at me, and I was like,
yeah, it's always like that. My friend Jenny of the Reading the End podcast, which is great, by the way, and you should all check it out. But Jenny Hamilton of Reading the End mentioned that she wants to bring in, I was going to make a video about this, but then shiny brain went somewhere else. Replace DNF, did not finish, with DFN, down for now.
Down for now.
And acknowledge that you want to pick it up again later, whether it happens or not.
I have a shelf where I can put things, so it's not really a DNF.
Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron, also here in Booksook, he talks about parking books.
Yeah.
Like parking books is when he puts them down just to like, you know, let them rest and coming back to them later, and then they just sit there. And I thought that was a very good way of putting it. I have parked Guns of Avalon. I have all the intention of going back.
All right, we are coming up on 2 hours, so we should probably start wrap a little bit. I'm gonna need to go make dinner soon, is all. So is there anything like anticipated releases, things you're really looking forward to over the next month or two? I think honestly that the publishing schedule is kind of dead
until the new year.
Yeah, the only thing on my list is Dead Astronauts by Jeff Vandermeer, which is not like a go out and buy instantaneously for me, but that's
a sequel, right?
Yeah, it's another Bourne novel apparently. Well, maybe not about Bourne as a character, but set in that same world.
There's a few sequels coming out, but other than sequels, everything that I've got on my radar is stuff that either is already out and that I've not read yet. Like I want to read River Solomon's The Deep, and I haven't read that yet. I don't think the audiobook is available I don't think the audiobook rights have sold in the UK. And I would very much like to listen to the audiobook of that because it's read by David Diggs, who is in the band Clipping. The novella is based on a song by Clipping called The Deep.
I'm excited about that. I didn't realize that David Diggs narrated it. I might have to see him get it on audio because I think that would be brilliant.
And there's also a new Adrian Tchaikovsky novella called Made Things, which again, that's like recently out, I think. But it's about like puppets coming to life, I think, or like wooden. I don't know. It looks really cool. But then, yeah. Our friend Forest of Glory just finished reading Catfishing on Catnet by Naomi Kritzer. Really liked it. I've got an arc of that I need to pick up.
I think I need to check that out. I do this unfortunate thing where I always skip Kritzer's fiction initially, but then when I actually go and read it, I'm like, dang, this is good. And I did like the story that that book is based on.
Also, I met her at Worldcon and she was nice, which has nothing to do with anything, but
she's always been like very.
It helps me remember that the book is that I'm to read.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Di, is there something you're looking to do?
I don't think Claire was done yet.
Oh, sorry.
Did Claire get first?
Claire?
No, I was just gonna say that we've just been alerted that our friend Bridget just told us that the second novel in C.L. Polk's series, Storm Song, is now out on NetGalley if people want to request it for review, but I don't believe that I've gotten it yet.
Yeah.
Or I don't believe I've been approved, so there you go.
I have no anticipated releases for December. I'm already looking at 2020 releases at this point, but I did want to mention some news by way of paraphrasing, because I was trying to look at the actual news release and I didn't find it, but a major publisher is starting an Indigenous imprint.
I saw that. That's really exciting.
Remind me again what that is.
It's so the imprint is called Heart Drum, and I think it's HarperCollins. I can't remember which of the big five it is, but it is like one of the people who's curating it is an Indigenous author.
Nice. Do you have like a news piece about that you could send me for genre-wise, please?
I will try and look at it. It's been circling on Twitter.
Let me hold on. I think I have a link in one of my group chats.
Cool.
I got it. Yeah, it is HarperCollins Children. I'll stick it in the genre-wise stuff.
Thank you.
So is it like middle grade imprint?
No, it's so it is in Harper Children's, but I think it's going to be like both. It's going to be like children's, YA, and middle grade. So the let me see. So it was done in conjunction with We Need Diverse Books. So the roster right now features Ancestor Approved and an anthology of stories that takes place in an intertribal powwow, The Sea in Winter, a novel, and then I Can Make This Promise. Oh no, sorry. So it's Ancestor Approved, The Sea in Winter, and then there's not a novel and a chapter book series coming out. So I think it's more like middle grade and YA.
But still, that's like really good. Like that's sort of like opening a door to like others for doing the same, and also like maybe doing like genre fiction imprints and stuff.
Yeah, I know Marika Tamaki has an imprint that's coming out in a Canadian publisher, I want to say, that's like graphic novel focused, like LGBT focused, I want to say.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I also thought that was pretty cool. And then I guess for me, I am trying to catch up on a bunch of library books that I have out because I want to start January off by only reading books that I own. To try and get, yeah, I know.
It's hard.
I know. But I'm also at this point just kind of looking like I'm just, you know, that thing from Saved by the Bell where the character's like, I'm so excited, I'm so scared. That's me in regards to Star Wars Episode 9 right now. And that's kind of where I'm like, all my attention is focused.
I'm trying to avoid spoilers for Frozen 2 because like everyone's going to see it right now. And I just looked when it's coming to Finland. It's coming to Finland in Christmas.
Ooh.
in a month.
That reminds
So
me.
I have to wait for a month.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm looking forward to is, and I feel really weird saying this, but I'm looking forward to a college football game because I'm going to go see Stanford versus Notre Dame when I'm visiting my family next week. And the reason I'm looking forward to it is because the Stanford band is infamous for putting on performances that get Notre Dame in a huff, including the dollies who are the dancers doing river dance and the Seamus So Hungry routine. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Stanford band pulls off.
Ooh.
I like the Stanford band because they're very irreverent. So,
do you have any anticipated releases, Rachel?
I just said Dead Astronauts, but also season 4 of The Expanse, and I have this feeling I might end up going to the theaters to see Little Women when it comes out because that'd be a good thing.
Yeah, that's coming. Little Women is coming, and it has Emma Watson.
Yeah,
playing the least Emma Watson role I was picturing.
Isn't she cast?
She's Meg.
Oh, she's
Meg. I like back in the the peak Emma Watson he for she years, I would have pictured that she would play Jo.
Yeah, I really like Little Women. I like the '94 movie, which I rewatched this year. But
Yeah,
I'm looking at
love that.
this new movie thinking, I like all of these actresses, but some of them just don't seem to be playing the right people. But I will withhold my judgment until I actually see it. But yeah.
I want to reread the book at some point.
I did reread it this year, and it was way more episodic than I remembered it being. I was so into Little Women when I was a kid.
I have heard that Louisa May Alcott actually didn't like writing it.
She thought it was too sweet and schmaltzy as heck, and she pretty much wrote it for the money.
Yep.
But
So,
it is perfectly tailored to appeal to a certain age of little girls, basically. And
I feel like the episodic nature of it also probably has to do with the format of publishing at the time when.
Yes, it was serialized. Yeah, that's probably why. So,
I recently started taking dips into The Count of Monte Cristo, and I had completely forgotten how episodic that not like episodic. It has an overarching plot, but each of the chapters is kind of tailored to entice the reader to pick up the next magazine so that they can read the next installment in the series. It's very, very that. All
right. Well, do we want to wrap up by talking about what is next for each of us in our lives and our channels? What are you doing next? I will go last. Okay, I will go first very quickly. The one thing I am doing is Vlogmas, and it's going to start very soon.
So excited to see it.
Yeah, and for some reason I decided it would be a brilliant time to do all the really lengthy videos that I never find time to do in my usual video schedule. So I've got I'm gonna have probably 7 videos that are 20 minutes or more long.
Yes.
Well, I've been doing a lot of pre-filming.
Good.
Great.
I might do a soft relaunch just because, like I said, I haven't been doing really anything because real life kind of kicked me in the guts for a few months. But I might do something Star Wars focused since episode 9 is coming out and I have finally read all the Galaxy's Edge tie-in stuff and also visited Galaxy's Edge, which was magical.
Ooh.
I saw all of your pictures and was filled with jealous rage. But also
I loved Galaxy's Edge a lot. It was the Imagineers did a very, very good job with it.
So I've been in a weird, like slightly slumpy state in terms of like making stuff. I did a lot of like recording for the podcast, and now I've got a lot of back editing to do, and I'm very far behind. And I'm just like, I'm currently battling like actually getting started with the editing that I have that's behind. So that's a bit tricky, and I need to get on that before my recording is fully obsolete. And I just did the video on decluttering my books and getting rid of loads and loads of books, which I had been wanting to do for a super long time, and actually like took an entire weekend to film. And so because of that was also basically I just found myself not having a lot to upload, but as ever, not doing a lot means now I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of things that I want to do. I also somehow finished my Goodreads channel, which is like wonderful. I'm going to Ellen Fiction November, even though I didn't do a TBR. I'm going to do a little like nonfiction video to wrap up those books, and then I'm going to do the end of year tag to talk about like books that I'm reading before the end of the year. And then I think by that point we'll probably be into like proper year-end content, and like best books that you've read, and end of year tag, and reading goals, and how's the book blanket doing, all of that kind of stuff coming up. So what I'm also doing to avoid a repeat of the like massive slump is I'm building a list of videos that I can pre-film and kind of have on the back burner, and that are good to kind of release whenever. And I'm hopefully going to use some of my Christmas vacation to record some of those and have a little bit of a backlog, which is something I always try to do and never end up doing.
Nice. Oh, I forgot to mention, speaking of podcasts, that Chelsea and I have been recording a Leverage watch-along podcast, which is why I've been rewatching Leverage, called The Pod Job. And it's going to be dropping, like our intro episode is dropping soon. So keep your eye out for that. We've had a lot of fun getting episodes in the can so that we have a backlog in case RL happens.
So would you recommend me starting to watch Leverage and listening to your podcast?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're doing, because Chelsea has never seen it. So we're doing, no, she hasn't. So this is her first time. So I am doing my best to keep it spoiler free in terms of like what's coming down the line. So we really focus on like one particular episode, and we might make references back to previous episodes. But if you've never seen the show, that's perfectly okay, because Chelsea has not either.
Okay.
Do you know what? I did not realize that at all.
That's why I've been so in our chat being like spoilers about Leverage, because Chelsea has not seen it.
Okay, that is okay.
Sorry, I wasn't just being anal about spoilers. It was just because I know.
No, Chelsea. I totally didn't know that, and also Leverage is like a little bit more difficult to spoil, I think, because of the genre. Like basically what you're gonna look at for spoilers is like interpersonal relationships, right? But aside from that, it's very, it's very bad guy of the week in a delightful way.
Yeah,
and there's some running threads, but
yeah, like some like not necessarily in season 1, but starting in season 2, there's like kind of overarching seasonal plots, but it's not like heavily serialized. Like you might get like little hints in individual episodes, but it's not until they normally save like the heavy resolution stuff till the very end of the season.
Okay, so on to the wrapping up. What's coming up on my channel next is that on December, I am going to be doing a sort of video on gamifying your reading.
Nice.
As a sort of like overview, I'm going to be talking about various booktubers who have done it and sort of planning for a project I'm going to do in 2020, which is going to involve gamifying my reading, because it's hard to plan out your reading when you have a shiny ADHD brain that is like, ooh, new things. So that's coming. And also I'm going to be doing the Books and Cats tag at some point in December to introduce all of you to MOSFET officially. And also next month I will be hosting the December Stitch and Bitch, which is going to be Stitch and Gifts, because we are doing a Secret Santa thing for us.
Yeah, I need to send mine.
We need to not talk too much about who has sent what, because Elfter tells you if the person has sent it to you. So 2 people in our chat said, I've sent it, and then I got a thing that said, you've got the thing. So now I have I mean,
it's not so Secret Santa.
We're such a small group, it's going to happen. You're going to be able to guess.
Yeah, but I think it's funnier guessing on, I think the point is that you don't know until we all open the presents in December on the thing. Yeah. And then do we already know the date? We've had some difficulties with the date.
It's probably going to be December 15th.
Yes.
Because in the doodle, that was the one where all agreed. I was the only one with maybe, because it's my nephew's naming party that day. But luckily, my time zone is the latest one, so I will most likely be home hours before the actual thing. The bigger problem is that will I actually receive my my Secret Santa gift, because our postal service is still on strike. It's the 3rd week.
Ooh.
And tomorrow all the bus drivers in this town are going on a sympathy strike, and possibly trains and stuff are going to everyone is going on a sympathy strike to help.
Well, hopefully the postal workers will get their demands met, and then they won't be on strike anymore.
Yeah. Hope so, because it's been shit for a long time. It's basically everyone's been suspecting that there's a mole in the company that's trying to wreck things in order to run down services so that then we can privatize the thing. And then they're probably going to have a high-paying job in the new privatized company.
Of course.
That's my guess about what's going on, because it's
yep,
it's a lot. But yeah, hopefully they will have their demands met, because currently postal service workers are doing extremely long days with little to no pay. So
yeah, for sure.
So that's damn, can someone tell a joke? That was a real downer. I was yeah, things coming up on my channel. Also, general strike. Yay!
Yeah. I'm French. I don't think general strike is a downer at all.
Well, I'm Finnish. Neither do I, because we have unionized the crap out of everything.
Unions are good.
We have unions for unions.
All right. Well, if that is what we're all looking forward to, what's going to happen next for us, I think we shall wrap up and end this. So thank you guys for joining us. If you are in the US, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a safe holiday with friends and family. It is supposed to snow here on Thanksgiving, so hopefully that doesn't make it too difficult for my family members to travel.
I hope everyone has so much pie.
Yes. Pecan pie all
is
the way.
stuffing a thing? Is that a thing?
Yeah, stuffing is a thing.
Yes.
Okay.
I can never eat because my family always makes stuffing, but they make it in the actual turkey, and I'm vegetarian. So
boo, that's
yeah.
And I also can't eat the green beans because even to this day, my mother insists making the green beans the way that my grandmother did. My grandmother is dead, by the way. And she puts like sausage and pepperoni in it. I'm like, now I can't eat the green beans either.
Oh.
I am looking forward to my grandma's Kahlua yams and then spending Black Friday at the aquarium and seeing my buds, the sea otters.
Ooh.
When is Thanksgiving?
Next week or Thursday.
Yeah.
I am not doing Friendsgiving this year because my US friends who usually host it are one of them's in the US and they're just not available, so we're not doing it this year. But I think I might be trying to cook something just because I really, really, really like Thanksgiving food. So I might just do like turkey breast and mash and stuffing or something.
Do Kahlua yams. Kahlua yams are like the perfect.
What do you make Kahlua yams?
You might have to send me a recipe. I'm curious.
I've been really happy.
Okay, so it's my grandma, so she doesn't like actually write recipes down. But it's basically you bake the sweet potato or you bake the yams so that they're squishy, and then you layer the yams in a casserole dish with butter, brown sugar, and then you pour Kahlua over it, and then you put marshmallows on it. And then
I was gonna ask if it was marshmallow sweet potatoes.
Marshmallows, I would. Totally
I like marshmallow sweet potato casserole.
I mean, you could do it without the marshmallows, but like the Kahlua is the important part here.
Despite my complaints, my mother does actually cook food that I can eat for Thanksgiving. It's just the two things that I kind of want to eat, I can't.
I mean, I have to say that. About the whole not writing recipes down, I had to call my mom for her recipe for her Carolean hot pot when I was having my kekri party because like nobody has ever seen it and my mom just wings it. So now I actually wrote it down, but my mom protested and said that it destroys some of the magic when it's written down.
Anyway, we should probably really end now.
Yes.
So, yes. Thank you, everybody. We're going bye-bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.